To review the differences between a and the. So when are we going to use a or on? We're going to use it the first time something is mentioned. For example, suddenly he saw a woman. The second time, or the second scenario, is when you say what something is, when you are giving the features or the characteristics of something. So for example, it was a cold morning. When talking about professions, you always have to put a or on before the profession. He was an architect, she was a lawyer. In exclamations, when you're using what a beautiful day, what a nice day, what an awful day. And for specific expressions such as once a month, twice a month, once a week. I go on vacation once a month. Then we use the to talk about something we previously mentioned. Going back to the example of the woman. Suddenly he saw a woman. The woman that we previously talked about. The woman was walking with her dog, or was walking her dog. When we only have one of a kind, the moon, we only have one moon, goes around the sun. When it's obvious what we're talking about, imagine you enter a room that only has one door. Please open the door. Places in town, like the cinema, the restaurant, the theater, the park. I went to the cinema. And with superlatives, it's the most boring movie I've ever seen. It's the best movie I've ever seen. So those are the examples of the use of a and the. We're going to learn when and not to use the. Okay, so one of the most common things is that, especially with Spanish speakers, is that we use the very common, especially when we don't have to. So here are some of the examples, or the most general rules to avoid that mistake. The first one is to avoid that when you're speaking in general, when using plural and uncountable nouns. Like the example we have here is music is my radio. We don't say the music. Women are extraordinary, not the women. We are also going to avoid the use of the with nouns using work, home, school, and church, especially when using at, to, and from. Like in these examples, I'm not at home, she came late to work, not to the work. We're going to avoid the use of the before meals and days. Like in the example, I never have breakfast, not a breakfast or the breakfast. I never had breakfast on Sunday. Sorry. And finally, we're going to avoid the before, next, last when we're talking about times, especially days and week. I went to Disney last week, not the last week. So those are the most common mistakes when using a and the. I hope that you enjoyed today's lesson, and see you next class. Goodbye.